I guess that's everybody. All right, we can begin. Hello, everyone. I am glad you have made it to, I have to say, this Comp2 class, you guys are amazing. You have transitioned beautifully. You have, you attend, you're using the technology to help you achieve your goals, and I'm just really, really impressed. So, congratulations to you. And we are in the final throes of our solution paper. Those of you who never got response from your first draft, it's okay. I will work with you one-on-one. I said that last week and didn't do it, but I will. We will coordinate and we will get it together. In the meantime, how many of you had time enough to prepare the things I wanted to cover today? Well, let me say it the other way. Is there anyone who didn't see the email in time enough to do the highlighting that I asked for today? Anybody who's here right now? Everybody
Yeah, I
has.
didn't see it.
You didn't see it, Russ?
No,
Okay.
not until like 5 minutes ago.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I just saw it as well.
Saw it when it was sent.
So I'm going to go through our list of participants, and I want you to tell me if you had the opportunity and did include everything from draft 1 to draft 2, which was we wanted to make sure we had our in-text citations. If you didn't have wrap-up sentences, you now have wrap-up sentences on your paragraphs. And if you didn't have a conclusion, you added your conclusion to this paper. Because today we're going to focus on transitioning those topic sentences. We're going to try to smooth them out so they transition nicely. We're also going to work with checking citations. I'm going to tell you when do you have to cite? Does anybody know when do you have to cite? You know you have to cite if you directly quote, but what about paraphrasing? What's your clue that there should be a citation? Even if you put it in your own words, because that's the hardest part to figure out.
When you're referring to someone else or like another.
Absolutely. So somebody else's idea, something somebody else said, even if you put it in your own words, has to have a citation. The hard part with that is you've read so many solutions, for instance, that they start to feel like your own solution, don't they? So we have to be careful here because there is an old saying that there are no new ideas. All of us create ideas based off of things that have come before. So we want to give credit to those people who contributed to our idea. And in some cases, some of you may find your idea is exactly the same as somebody else's idea. Now, it is possible for two people in two different parts of the world even to come up with the same idea. We see this like with the invention of the discovery of electricity and the invention of the light bulb. There were two people in two different parts of the world, and this was before internet, so it isn't likely they actually had communication or they stole each other's idea. They simply came up with the same idea about the same time. And we saw that with the airplane, many inventions. There are multiple people who have similar ideas. So it isn't impossible that you had an idea before you read somebody else had the same idea, but we still want to offer them a nod. So if you read it, if you did read it and it turned out it was the same as yours, you want to say in your solution, you can say others have mentioned, others like so-and-so have mentioned this, and it seems like a reasonable idea. If you want to stay away from the I, which depending on the tone of your paper, you may. So that reminds me, tone of paper. So I had some questions this week about whether we should be using I and me and we have to talk about the advantages and disadvantages there. So it depends on your audience. And that's why at the very beginning of this process, we thought about audience a little bit. We said, if I'm appealing to children, if I'm appealing to the average citizen, I can be informal, and it may even be preferable because the average citizen gets overwhelmed and daunted by very formal academic writing. Not the average citizen isn't college educated. If, however, I am appealing more to educators or government officials, or if I want to make it sound more serious, more devastating if we don't do something, then I want to stay with the more academic language, which means I wouldn't use the casual I's and me's and all of that. So think about who your audience is to help you determine whether or not it used to be, we always said no I's, no I's. But as you have read in some of these essays, it can be very effective to take a personal approach, to sound like, especially if you are presenting something to which there is a lot of resistance, it can be very effective to use a casual tone and kind of walk the reader through how you came to your conclusion, so that they can come with you. They can like you and be a friend to you, and they can follow your logic. If you come off very academic and formal, you may carry authority, but those who disagree with you already may resist it more because you're sounding all uppity. So this is something for you to, it's a nuance for you to think about. If you have any doubts at all, simply take the I out and use words and phrases like it seems or there are. You can go to the passive voice to express your opinion. It's obvious or it's clear that. Those expressions get you out of the I, the first person, and into a more general tone, or we can agree, or we need, use the we. So does that answer everyone's question about tone and which way to go? It's going to be kind of individual, isn't it? Do you have any questions about that?
Not really.
All right. Well, one thing to keep in mind is you can't switch midstream. If you start with very formal, you better stay formal throughout. You can't all of a sudden pop in with an I think, okay? Can't do that. And conversely, if you're very informal from the beginning, you want to stay with that tone throughout. Consistency is key in all kinds of writing. Bless you. Okay. I had said we were going to review for your exam as well, so I'm going to do just a little bit. This will help us in thinking about your papers. Oh, first we have to establish who has a good second draft that has their in-text citations, their wrap-up sentences, a good conclusion or close to a conclusion. Your works cited page is pretty much in order you think. And the introductions. I did ask you last time to make sure that you are ramping up the importance, make sure the importance, why it is important, is clear. And I told everyone we really need to make sure we suggest or actually state how many people are affected, which would include a citation because it'd be a statistic. So anything specific in addition to what we said a few moments ago, if it's somebody else's idea, you need a citation. But the other clue is if you have something specific, like a number, a date, something that most people would not know just off the top of their head. And usually it's specific. Then there should be a citation. if you got a percentage, a number of people involved, that should be cited with an in-text citation of where I could verify that number. So if you know right away that's something you didn't do, make a note to yourself right now. You will need a citation for anything specific, dates, names. So if it's President Trump or a president's name, you wouldn't have to cite it because that's pretty much considered common knowledge. But if it was some judge that I've never heard of, you didn't ever hear of that unless you found it in a source, and that should be cited. Likely, you didn't know. Okay, so you want to cite those things. All right, so now who has a document that has the in-text citation, has the works cited page, has the, if you do have it, when I call your name, I want you to say yes. Gigi.
Just have to continue working on the Netflix documentary citation, but other than that, I'm good.
You're good. Okay. Gus,
Yeah.
do you have that? Did you go back and do stuff to it?
I mean, I've made changes. Not a whole lot, though.
Did you do your in-text citation and your works cited?
Yeah, that's all done. at least
That's
for
done.
now.
Do you have wrap-up sentences in your paragraphs that make your point?
I mean, I believe so.
Okay. Amber, do you have
Yeah,
all
I just
that?
have to work on my wrap-up sentences.
All right, so I'm going to mark you as a yes, a go on this project, and maybe your partner will help you with those wrap-up sentences.
Okay.
Ashley,
I had,
do you,
I had to find 2 more sources, just the sources.
okay, so I'm going to hold you out. Oh, but did you do any in-text citation and wrap-up sentences?
A little bit.
A little bit. All right, I'm going to hold you out. Andrea, do you have that version? I got you muted. Hold on. I'll unmute you. I can't hear you, sweetie. Uh-oh. It's not unmuting. Andrea? Where'd you go?
Probably muted herself or doesn't have a mic.
Oh, there you go. Andrea, you're online now. I can hear you. Do you have a draft we can work with? A second draft? Oh, you may be right. Can you type it for me so I know if you have a second draft? Where's my comments? Does anybody see comments? I don't see the comments. All right, so we don't know about Andrea yet. How about Ben? Do you have in-text citation wrap-up sentences?
Yeah.
Cool. Bianca, how about you?
Yep, it's all done.
All right, in good shape. Madison, how about you?
I just have to fix up my wrap-up sentences.
All right, so I'm going to put you in this group. Devin, how about you? Do you have the in-text citations?
Yep, I got them.
Great. Can you go ahead and start highlighting your document for us?
Yeah,
I know you said
sorry.
you didn't see it till the last minute, and I'm sorry about that. I should have put that out yesterday. I wasn't exactly clear on what we wanted to accomplish today, but this will help us if you can do it. Olivia, do you have yours
Yes.
ready? Rita, how about you? Do you have those wrap-up sentences? And
Yeah, I'm done.
all right. Russ, how about you?
Yeah.
Excellent. So just about everybody, with the possible exception of Ashley and Andrea, I'm going to hold you guys back and have you do something else. So let us, I'm just going to arbitrarily put you in groups, and what we're going to look at, if they've highlighted it for us, we're going to check to see, first of all, read the introduction and see if it's drummed up enough, or if you've heard me like 3 or 4 weeks now talking about how I want it to be dramatic. And if it just doesn't feel that interesting or that exciting or that worrisome, maybe make some suggestions to your partner on what they could do to really liven it up. Check the thesis with the conclusion. Make sure that the thesis does in fact state a solution. I know we checked that last week, but some people had to make changes with that. So now it should state a specific solution of what could be done about the problem. Thirdly, if they left their labels in, it should be easy to determine. Topic sentences should indicate, for instance, under causes, one of the reasons that this is happening, one of the causes for this, it should be clear from the topic sentence that we are describing one of the causes. And the wrap-up sentence should always hearken back, tie in with what? What did I say last week about wrap-up sentences? What do they do? We need to know that for the exam and for now. Well, you wrote them. You should know what they should be doing. What did you do?
I don't know.
Rita, what did you do with a wrap-up sentence?
You're making the point of what like the whole paragraph was about and tying it back to your thesis.
Perfect. So you do know. You got to make a point about that topic. So the topic and the wrap-up sentences are connected. Did you hear that, Ashley and Andrea? If you didn't have yours, that's what your goal is, to do the wrap-up sentences to make your point about the topic of that paragraph. So your point should be something about your thesis and how. So with the causes, it'd be probably the effect is a bad effect. Just like you said in your thesis, it's a problem that needs solving, right? So it'll reflect back on that thesis. The other thing we want to check is if they will have highlighted their in-text citations. Hopefully they had time to do that. And so when you are done reading topic and wrap up, topic and wrap up, topic and wrap up, read the conclusion. And the conclusion should indicate, it doesn't have to actually list every topic they covered, but it should refer to all these solutions that didn't work out and why they don't, since these aren't working out, here's the good solution. And it should say what'll happen if we don't change, if we continue on this path, and what'll happen if we do use your suggestion, which is hopefully a brighter future. Things will be better if not solved completely. So that's what conclusions do. They sum up what's presented and then bring home the overall point, in this case, which is your solution will fix things, right? Okay, so you're going to read through all of that, just topic sentences. Then I want you to look at the Works Cited page and go one by one. Whatever they've listed first, go back and make sure they did include it somewhere in their body paragraphs. 2, go to the second one. Did it get included? Because Works Cited sheets say these are the things I actually cited in my paper. So if it is cited in the paper, it must be on the Works Cited page. And if it's on the Works Cited page, it must be in text. Excuse me just one moment. Dad, will you please tell Delano to be quiet? I'm in class. All right. Sorry, everyone is in my house now. Everyone meaning my close family members. All right, so we're checking. Thank you, Father. He brought me coffee. We're checking to make sure that all of those citations do appear, and it should be whatever's hanging out there. If you find something that doesn't match, even though you can deduce, like if they gave statistics about number of deaths from and the website is cdc.com or .org, and then you go down and you see there's actually an article title and then there's CDC, that's not going to count with me. It's got to be whatever's hanging out, so it would be the article title. And does anyone remember what we had to do with the article titles when we cite in text?
Don't you use the first couple words of the article title?
Yeah, we don't want the whole title. We don't want big disruptions. So just enough so that I can find it on your Works Cited. But there's a second thing. We mustn't forget the quotation marks. Right, guys? Because that indicates it's a title, an article title. And when I'm looking on your sheet, it should match. It should match that. All right. So that part is ready. Do you want to do this in two parts? Do you want to do just the topic, the writing part first, and then go back, come back together, review what to look for in the Works Cited and in text? Or do you want to try to do it all at once? Don't care? All right.
Once.
All at once sounds good to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's another one. All right. So I'm going to share my screen for just a moment to review reading, which is going to be on your test. And those of you who want to do revisions will want to recap on this as well. And where's my PowerPoint? Oh, I guess this is the screen. All right. So I'm going to try to share this. Go back to the actual PowerPoint. All right, so do you see on your screen, do you see summary? A PowerPoint that says week 2 summary? What do you see?
The list of all your PowerPoints.
But
Really?
I don't see week 2 summary.
Okay. Hold on. Let me get. Now what do you see? Oh, me, right? Because it stopped
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah.
Let's try this again. I don't care as much for Zoom as Skype, but now do you see week 2 summary?
Yes.
Yes.
Yay! All right, so I'm not going to play this thing, obviously. I'm just going to review some things you learned in the beginning of class that are helping you now with this assignment. So when we underlined it key words and phrases. Then we made a note about the topic and point for each paragraph. And to get that, well, this was to get the overall point, we looked at first, last, and title of the essay. First meaning the introduction, last meaning the conclusion, and the title of the piece. So now that you're writing, you're actually creating those first, last, and title that will indicate your overall point that you're making, which is your solution, right, to a problem. This, you may recall, why change is so hard. It was an article we read in class, I believe. Self-control is exhaustible. And we had to look up, some of us had to look up the word exhaustible. And it just means it can be depleted, it runs out. And it turns out in this introduction, the things we actually underlined were in the last part of the paragraph. That's where the point is made. So that's why we did that. And that's why we are trying to make points in each of our paragraphs. Same thing with no mercy. So here, the main thing was it started with 1925. So he had to tell us we're comparing to 1925. And the point about 1925 was this guy got off with just probation and seeing a psychiatrist. And it appears where? At the last sentence of the paragraph. Now, it's not a typical thesis statement. It doesn't say, because he went on to compare to today before he got to his thesis, that it wasn't quite as good that way. All right, now I'm going to try to switch to another PowerPoint, and it's not going to let me. Okay, so that's first and last sentences when we read, and first and last sentences when we write is where the points are for each body of text. And that's what you're checking right now. So let me go ahead and set up some meeting rooms, breakout rooms, and I'm going to pair you up arbitrarily, and you're going to look for those key things. And then when you are both finished, you can talk about them, because you'll be in your own little room. Actually, it looks like I can create rooms automatically with 2 people to each room. So I'm going to do that. And then I will have to rearrange Ashley and Andrea. I'll talk to you separately.
What about me?
What about Sloan? I didn't ask you, did I?
No, you didn't. You skipped me.
I totally ignored you. I didn't have you written down. Are you ready to?
Yeah.
All right.
But I do want to talk to you either during this or after.
All right. I need to get Andrea out. All right, so it only gave me 2 rooms. Let me try this again. Okay. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 people. So some rooms, one room will have 3, it looks like. Here we go. We're going to try the breakout room automatic assignment. Recreate. I want to assign 12 participants into 6 rooms. Okay. And I'm going to move Ashley into room 6. And I'm going to move Andrea into room 6. And that means I can put Amber in room 4 and Olivia in room 1. All right, I'm opening the rooms, which means you'll all disappear. And Andrea and Ashley, I will be meeting with you to see where you are and what you need help with to get you to the level that your classmates are. All right, I will come back in about 20 minutes to see how things are going. I'll be popping in on you guys, and you can ask me your questions at that time. So if you have a piece of paper and a pen, you can write down notes to yourself on what you want to change and notes on things you want to ask me when I pop in. All right, see you in a little bit.